The United States and Ukraine say they have made substantial progress in Geneva, following a new round of talks on the U.S. proposal to end the war with Russia. In a statement shared online by Andriy Yermak, the head of Ukraine's negotiating delegation, both sides described the 23rd of November meeting as constructive and highly productive. The joint communique says the discussions helped narrow differences and allowed negotiators to prepare an updated framework document for further review.
Wishing you good health. Today is a day of many meetings and negotiations. In fact, since morning, there have been meetings and consultations via video link. The Ukrainian delegation in Geneva has already held a number of meetings with the American side, as well as with our European partners. Just now, the delegation reported on the outcomes of the talks. These were thorough discussions. A lot is changing. We are working very carefully on the steps needed to end the war. Negotiations in Switzerland will continue today. In fact, the teams will be working until late at night, and there will be more reports from them. It is important that there is a dialogue with American representatives, and there are signals that President Trump's team is hearing us. Today, I also spoke with French President Emmanuel Macron and with the Prime Ministers of Canada, Croatia, and Luxembourg. I just spoke with German Chancellor Friedrich Merz. I thank everyone. There are still many messages. Everyone is supportive, giving advice, providing information. I want to thank everyone who is giving this help to us, to all of Ukraine. And it is important to ensure that the steps toward ending the war are effective and that everything works. Ukraine has never wanted war. We will never be an obstacle to peace. Diplomacy has been activated. This is good, very good. We expect that the result will be the right steps. The first priority is reliable peace, guaranteed security, respect for our people, respect for everyone who gave their life defending Ukraine from Russian aggression. Tomorrow will be no less active a day. We are defending Ukraine's interests. And the strength of our position, the strength of our state position, the Ukrainian people's position lies in the fact that it is our shared position. The unity of Ukrainians in defending their national interests and our independence, our sovereignty, this is what works. There are directives for the Ukrainian delegation. There is a Ukrainian course that the delegation is following.
According to the statement, the United States and Ukraine reaffirmed that any eventual agreement must fully respect Ukraine's sovereignty and provide guarantees for a stable and lasting peace. Both delegations agreed to continue intensive work on the updated proposal in the coming days, while coordinating closely with European partners. The document also notes that final decisions on the framework will be made by President Vladimir Zelenskyy and U.S. President Donald Trump once the revised draft is complete. The White House released the same statement shortly after Yermak's post appeared on Telegram.
So I'm happy to provide an update. I've seen quite a bit of reporting on the latest with Russia, Ukraine, so let me clarify and give you guys the truth on where it currently stands. President Trump has made it very clear since day one, and even on the campaign trail, that he wants to see this war come to an end. He has grown increasingly frustrated with both sides of this war, Russia and Ukraine alike, for their refusal to commit to a peace agreement. But nevertheless, the president and his national security team are steadfast in seeing this war come to an end, to end the killing and deliver on the president's promise. Special Envoy Witkoff, Marco Rubio, have been working on a plan quietly for about the last month. They've been engaging with both sides, Russia and Ukraine, equally to understand what these countries would commit to in order to see a lasting and durable peace. That's how you get to a peace negotiation, right? That's how it worked with Israel, with respect to Israel and Gaza and all of the Arab countries in the Middle East. That's how we accomplished that historic agreement, which the UN, by the way, voted to commit to and accept this week, which was a huge monumental moment. So they have been engaged with both sides, and these talks are continuing. As always, I'm not going to litigate the details of this plan as it's ongoing and it's in flux, but the president supports this plan. It's a good plan for both Russia and Ukraine, and we believe that it should be acceptable to both sides, and we're working very hard to get it done. And I'll also add, I know Secretary Driscoll did meet with President Zelenskyy today. We spoke with him. He was very optimistic following that meeting. And so, again, we are having good conversations with both sides with respect to ending this war.
The new round of diplomatic activity follows criticism of the initial 28-point U.S. proposal, which called for Ukraine to cede territory, limit its military capabilities, and drop its bid to join NATO. Terms many in Kiev said were unacceptable after nearly 4 years of war.
On Ukraine, you said this is a good plan. So according to our sources, this proposal demands major concessions from Ukraine and doesn't demand much from Russia. So was Russia involved in drafting
Your
this?
understanding is wrong. Have you read the full plan? You haven't.
Sources said.
Yes.
So if you can give details, maybe.
You've read reporting from one side of the war. And so I want you to understand that the administration has talked equally with both sides. You have seen President Trump engage directly with both President Putin and President Zelenskyy. Likewise, his national security team has as well. In fact, Special Envoy Witkoff and Secretary Rubio met with some of the Ukrainians just in the past week to discuss this very plan. And so just like you saw with respect to Israel and Gaza, we are hearing out both sides of this war to understand what can you commit to end the war. And that's ultimately how we are going to get to an agreeable solution. That's what the president has directed of his team. I know there's a lot of criticism out there and a lot of doubters, but I would just remind you of the historic success that this president and his team accomplished in the Middle East. We believe that is possible with Russia and Ukraine, and we're hoping and working very hard to achieve that. Stephen.
Meanwhile, the Kremlin said on Monday that it has not received any official update on the Geneva talks or on the modified U.S. proposal.
We have hardly discussed this publicly, only in the most general terms. But it's not a secret at all. President Trump's peace plan for resolving the situation in Ukraine was discussed before the meeting in Alaska. And during these preliminary discussions, the American side asked us to make certain compromises to show, as they put it, flexibility. The main point of the meeting in Alaska, the main goal of the meeting in Alaska, was that during the negotiations in Anchorage, we confirmed that despite certain difficult issues, complications on our side, nevertheless, we agree with these proposals and are ready to show the flexibility that was suggested to us. On all these issues, we have thoroughly informed all our friends and partners in the Global South, including the People's Republic of China, India, and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, South Africa, Brazil, many other countries, and of course the CSTO countries as well. All our friends and partners, I want to emphasize this, all of them without exception, supported these possible agreements. However, we see that after the negotiations in Alaska, there was a certain pause on the American side. And we know that this is connected to an effective refusal by Ukraine of the peace settlement plan proposed by President Trump. I believe that is precisely why a new version appeared, essentially a modernized plan now consisting of 28 points. We have this text. We received it through the existing channels of communication with the American administration. I believe that it too can be included in the main text. It is not being discussed. And I can suggest why. I believe the reason is the same. The US administration has so far been unable to secure the consent of the Ukrainian side. Ukraine is against it. Apparently, Ukraine and its European allies are still under certain illusions and continue to dream of inflicting a significant defeat on Russia, a strategic defeat on the battlefield. I think the basis for such a position is not so much a low level of competence, though I won't discuss that aspect now, but most likely this position is due to a lack of objective information about the situation, the real situation on the battlefield. And apparently neither in Ukraine nor in Europe do they understand. What could this ultimately lead to? Just one of the most recent examples is Kupiansk. Not long ago, as we remember, on November 4th, just 2 weeks ago, there were public statements in Kiev claiming that there were no more than 60 Russian servicemen in this city, and that within the next few days, as was said, the city would be completely unblocked by Ukrainian forces. But I want to inform you that already at that time, on November 4th, the city of Kupiansk was almost entirely and completely under the control of the Russian armed forces. Our guys, as they say, were just finishing up, clearing only certain neighborhoods and streets. The fate of the city had already been completely decided by that point. What does this tell us? Either the Kyiv leaders do not have objective information about the situation at the front, or having it, they are simply unable, they cannot objectively assess it. If Kyiv does not want to discuss President Trump's proposal and refuses to do so, then both they and the European warmongers must understand that the events that took place in Kupiansk will inevitably be repeated in other key sectors of the front. Maybe not as quickly as we would like, but inevitably this will happen again. And overall, this suits us because it leads to achieving the goals of the special military operation by military means, through armed struggle. But as I have said many times before, we are also ready for peaceful negotiations to resolve the issues by peaceful means. However, this of course requires a substantive discussion of all the details of the proposed plan. We are ready for this.
Russian officials told reporters they are waiting for formal communication before offering any response. The negotiations in Geneva are set to resume this week as the U.S. and Ukraine work toward a revised framework for potential peace talks with Russia.
I would very much like for there to be no opposing signals, no non-Ukrainian signals coming from Ukraine. Right now, I hear that our partners' intelligence services are telling them that the Russian position is starting to gain ground, including through certain actors from Ukraine. This definitely does not help. We have our state position. We have Ukrainian dignity. We must act in a way that strengthens it, not undermines it. I hope that those whom this concerns will hear me now. With a Ukrainian passport, one must feel responsibility for Ukraine. And it is truly noticeable that millions of Ukrainians clearly support the state position. There is clear support for our independence, for Ukrainian sovereignty. People must benefit from all political decisions. And that is why we are working on every step, every document, and with all our partners very thoroughly, very seriously, and attentively. Thank you to everyone in the world who stands with Ukraine. Thank you to America, to the President of America, to all the leaders of Europe, and to the leaders of the world who feel that a decision can be made now. Glory to Ukraine.